Hello and welcome to Victory in Vegas, the MMA betting podcast. Today we're going to break down UFC Fight Night 1, 2, 3 in Fresno. And guess who's back? We've got Namreka back after 2 weeks off. How's it going, man?
Yeah, good man. Good to be back. Good to be back on the grind.
Absolutely. So, just a quick one. As always, we're going to be breaking down our bets or potential bets for the night in full for you. And then the rest of the card will just quick fire at the end. Not too much back and forth, but just a little on why we think that person's going to win, maybe how and round and stuff like that. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, we'll kick it off straight from the top. My first bet of the night, we've got in the main event, Cub Swanson against Brian Ortega, which is a pretty interesting fight, to be honest. So I've got 4.5 units on Cub Swanson, so quite a big bet. And I've got all them units on at -149, which, before I break it down, is an absolutely awful line. I normally pride myself on being able to read where lines are going to go, and this one just completely went. It couldn't have gone any worse, and it's probably one of the worst lines that I've actually ever taken compared to what I can get it at now. But, as long as it cashes, I'll be happy. So, yeah, I mean, when the fight first got announced, I lent Swanson quite a bit, but you can never take too much of that, too much stock into that until you've watched tape. So I watched a bit of tape on him, and I felt the same afterwards, to be honest. I think that Swanson is a better striker. I know a few people are contesting that I've spoken to, but I think he is a better striker. He's got the vet experience. Having said that, I don't think he's done yet from the sport. I don't think he's on a decline. And the fighters that he's lost against are actually of the highest level. He only really loses to top competition. So, he's lost to Max Holloway, who obviously we know now what Max is about. Great fighter. Frankie Edgar, Ricardo Lamas, Chad Mendes, Jose Aldo. These are all the fights that he's lost in the UFC, and they're all to top guys. And I just don't think Ortega is of that caliber. His jiu-jitsu's great, and I think if he does get on the mat with Swanson, I do think Swanson will be in a bit of trouble if he can't get straight back up. He has got, out of his 7 losses, he has been submitted 5 times, so that is definitely a worry. But to be honest with you, for how good Ortega is on the mat, his takedown average per fight is really low. I think it's like 0.27, which is just over 1 takedown every 4 fights. So he could come out and he could start shooting mad and try and get Swanson down, but you can only go on what you see on tape, and I just don't think he shoots as often as he should. And yes, Swanson could be taken down. Maybe he got taken down twice against Artem Lobov, which surprised a lot of people. I think maybe Cub himself, and that might have been, might have played a little part in the fact that Lobov was able to take him down, just because Cub wasn't really expecting it. But ultimately, I just don't see Ortega shooting that often, and I can just see it being a stand up war in this match. And I completely favour Swanson. I think his boxing's better, even though Ortega's improving. He mixes in kicks into his combinations as well, which will slow Ortega down. Just a little side note as well, Ortega tends to have rough weight cuts as well. So with this being his first 5-round fight, I think Swanson is going to win by decision. So, I'm not expecting Ortega to fade, but I think later on in the round,
come on stronger, doesn't
he? Yeah,
like,
he does.
3 anyway.
So he starts quite slow, and you're right. Second and third, he gets progressively better. But I'll be really interested if he does have a bad weight cut and really does look bad. What he is going to look like in the 4th and 5th round, something that Swanson's absolutely no stranger to. So yeah, I think Ortega can win this fight one of 2 ways. If he does just start going crazy for the takedowns, he will, and inevitably, I think the more he tries for him, the more likely he is to get one. I think if he does get to the mat, he can submit Swanson. And the other path to victory for me, if if he doesn't shoot the takedowns is Swanson making that fight-ending mistake, like Moicano did, for example, winning the fight and then just shooting for a takedown in the third round and getting caught in something. That's for me Ortega's biggest path to victory, depending on Swanson making that mistake. And I don't think Swanson is daft enough to do that. You never know in the middle of a fight. But just another point to make quickly, Ortega's last 2 wins, he was losing. He was losing both fights, and then slight mistakes on Moicano's part. What do you mean? Sorry.
Clay Guida. That was his the fight before his last.
Yeah. So in his last,
seemed to be doing. That was a close fight. Like in the second round, the Brandao fight is a big one though. Like that was a fight he was badly losing until Brandao basically was Brandao and jumped for that.
Yeah, I personally think he was losing the Guida fight as well. I think if that had gone to the scorecards, I don't think Ortega would have won. I mean, the mistake that Guida made wasn't as bad as obviously Moicano's. Moicano's was just downright.
It was
ridiculous.
Definitely yeah, I had a bet on Moicano in that fight. I was like, what are you doing, mate?
Yeah. No, that was that. But and you mentioned Brandao as well. Ortega has seemed to get this reputation of losing fights and then
every fight that he's won in UFC, obviously aside from the one he got busted for something for, he's finished in the third round, like all of them.
Yeah, so I mean, like I say, it has to be a worry betting Swanson, but I expect Swanson with his experience and the level and quality of fighters that he's fought in the past and fighting for adversity, I don't see him making that fight ending mistake. But I mean, what's your thoughts on the fight? Because originally when it was at like -149, I hit it quite without hesitation, thinking that it might end up close to -200 again. Just completely misreading the line, and then suddenly a load of Ortega bettors came up, starting to think that he's actually the more likely to win the fight, and then obviously Ortega's line got steamed as well. So, I mean, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, that did surprise me to see the odds close up like that, because I do feel like Swanson, like, for one, I think he's a much better striker. I think he's way more creative. His counters are sharper. His defense is better. Like, I think standing, I think he's going to work Ortega over, pretty much as most people who fought Ortega have done. And yeah, like you said, it's like all that Swanson has to do here is not do something stupid. Like, I know there's 5 rounds for him to do something stupid, but like there can't be any point where Swanson's like, oh, I'm a bit tired, I'm gonna hold this guy down for a few seconds, because that will just cost him the fight right there. Ortega is just amazing off his back. So, but it feels like it's in Swanson's hands. Like, he knows what he has to not do in this fight to keep it himself safe. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know why people are betting so heavily on Ortega. I don't really see his path to victory seems to be based on a moment in the fight that I think the people betting on him will be waiting for the whole fight, and it won't actually happen. Like, Swanson's gonna be winning on points throughout this fight, and he could even finish Ortega, but I know Ortega seems like a really tough guy, but this is a 5-round fight where he's going to be getting hit for 5 rounds. So it's one I don't really understand why people would be confident on Ortega just going by his fight so far. I don't see what he's shown.
It does make me wonder a little bit if Ortega, because I mean, this is Ortega's it's definitely his biggest fight of his career, and it's also his big chance. I mean, I know there's things around Swanson's contract issues, and he might be looking for a job in another organisation, but this is Ortega's big chance, and it does make me wonder if he feels himself being down like 2 or 3 rounds in the opening 3 rounds, if he does decide to really start shooting on Swanson, to try and get him down and win the fight or score points. So, like I say, it does make me wonder what he's going to be thinking at that point. But
I
like you
think
say, ultimately,
Ortega's best chance of getting it to the ground is actually to pull guard. Like I don't think he's going to be just taking Swanson down, but he could pull guard and keep Swanson on the floor with him. Like it is quite hard to stand up against someone with a really good guard. They will stop you from standing
yeah,
up, but it really does feel like it would be like a last ditch, I need to win this fight now type of thing, and that is not something I'd ever want to trust my money with.
absolutely. I mean, yeah, I don't really know what more to say. I mean, I've been surprised by from start to finish with this fight. I mean, to start with, I'm not going to say, I was shocked that, this fight got made, but, when I saw it, I thought, oh, this will probably be quite unbettable for Swanson. Not because it'd be like minus 300 or minus 400, but just unbettable for the fact that the value would probably not be there for Swanson. But yeah, it's just all been a bit strange. But I mean, we'll see on Saturday.
Yeah, maybe people
It's going to
see
happen,
something we're
and
not, but I don't know.
yeah,
For me, it's like, yeah, I'm looking at the odds now. It's got a bit crazy. You can actually get Swanson at plus odds in some
yeah.
places now. Yeah,
So I mean, what's your final prediction on it? 'Cause I mean, I don't think Swanson finishes him. I
yeah,
think it's going to be similar to the Lobov fight, just harder.
quite strongly on Swanson to be honest. I mean, I could see myself even betting it,
Yeah,
giving
I
it a
mean,
bet, and it seems to be one of the few fights that still is very bettable. Like the odds have not gone anywhere, so I
yeah.
mean
I
they've
mean,
only got better. So
from my point of view, I mean, if I could have got these sort of odds, I'd have still only bet a certain amount of units in order to get about 3 units profit, which is my current profit margin on betting 4.5. So from a units profit point of view, it would have been the same regardless on odds. It's just obviously my return of investment will take a slight hit, but
yeah, and it's the
not.
bigger risk if something does happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm happy with the bet, and I'm confident that Swan's going to go out there and do what he's been doing his entire career, and just put on a clinic really, and just get the win. So ultimately, my prediction: Swanson by decision.
Yeah, same. I think it will. I don't think it'll stop him. Swanson doesn't seem to stop people very often anymore. He used to be someone with like a really good one-shot counter punch, but he hasn't really shown the ability to stop guys in a little while. So yeah, I'll probably go to decision.
Cool. So we'll move on to the next one to break down, which is another one of my bets. Actually, one that I wasn't going to even look at to start with until I saw the line and it made me watch tape. So I've got 3 units on Scott Holtzman at plus 100, so evens money to win 3 units back. And yeah, I mean, he's fighting Darrell Horcher, and I wasn't too sure because Holtzman is quite a grindy fighter. I can remember betting him in his last fight against Michael McBride, and although he beat McBride quite comfortably,
But McBride is one of the worst fighters I think I've seen in UFC.
yeah, he is. But it was tough. If I remember rightly, it was tough for Holtzman for the fact that McBride was just so much taller than him.
Yeah, he did have a lot of
So
height on him.
it was hard for Holtzman to get in, and he's not that great of a striker. So that I think that's the problems that he ended up having. But yeah, I wasn't even going to bet it purely from the fact that Holtzman's quite grindy, and I thought Darrell Horcher put on an absolute clinic against it was Devin Powell, was
Yeah,
it?
Devin Powell. Yeah,
And so it sort of threw me off, and I saw the line, and I thought, you know what, Holtzman's like, he's the sort of type of fighter that I do like to bet on, grindy fighter, decent takedowns, half decent, top control. So I looked into the tape and I watched Horcher first against Devin Powell, and it actually really shocked me because I thought Horcher put on a really like a clinic in that fight and really beat Powell convincingly, and that just wasn't the case. I disagree with the split decision. I think it should have been unanimous. I don't think Powell won the fight. So one judge that gave him the fight was wrong in my opinion. But he was trying for takedowns but not completing them, and I don't think Powell's got that good takedown defense either. he was throwing a lot of air shots, and it was almost like there were pre-practice combinations. And I mentioned this on my website as well. With these pre-practice combinations, it was almost like he practiced them in training with his striking coach, but he was using him completely in the wrong scenarios in the fight, and ended up really throwing a lot of stuff at air. I can remember seeing a few uppercuts that were just like nowhere near Powell.
It's sort of like a fighter who knows the combination to throw, but doesn't really understand why he's throwing it. Like he doesn't know that
exactly.
he's supposed to throw an uppercut when someone's close, or a straight right when they're back and up or something. He just doesn't quite. He knows what to throw, but he doesn't know why he's throwing it or the method behind it. He just sort of like throws it out there.
Yeah, and like I say, it just all looked a bit odd. So at this point, I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm not sure why Horcher's favourite. So I thought to myself, well, Horcher's got this weird, striking style, and he does attempt takedowns. So I thought the best fight for me to watch would be maybe the Holtzman Josh Emmett fight, and it was one that I sort of remember anyway from a previous card, and I know they both had a lot of takedowns each, so I thought, okay, I'll go and watch that, and I was actually really impressed, even though Holtzman lost the fight. I agree, he lost the fight. There's no way he won it, but the way he fought against Josh Emmett was just really impressive, and Josh Emmett is head and shoulders above Darrell Horcher in regards to ability, skill, where he trains. Everything about Josh Emmett is far better, and I don't think they're too dissimilar of a style either. With Emmett and Horcher, it's just Emmett does everything a lot better. Holtzman got caught a lot, but that's another thing that really stood out to me. His chin was solid; it held up. He got hit with absolute bombs, and we've seen in Emmett's last fight against Felipe Aranches how hard Emmett actually hits him. For Holtzman to not even wobble from multiple shots, it was quite impressive. But then every time Emmett did get him down a few times, but he didn't get him down easily. He was stuffing them first against the cage. He was getting his underhooks. Emmett was just, Emmett just has a good takedown game, and he did end up taking him down a few times. But Holtzman was straight back to his feet. He wasn't content in staying on his back in guard.
Did you see Holtzman's fight against Drew Dober though? Because he got taken down quite a few times in that fight.
No, I didn't end up watching that. I think as soon as it was a bit further back anyway than what I wanted to go to. I just think he'd had a few fights already, and I just thought the Emmett fight would be better to watch because Holtzman's come from ice hockey, from NHL, so I know he's had a few fights before the UFC. He ain't going to jump straight to that quality, but I just thought that he'll have improved a lot since the Dober fight, and I thought from a stylistic point of view, I think Emmett is just a far better version of Horcher. So I thought, even though he lost against Emmett, the performance he put on should be enough to actually beat Horcher. So and you're right, he did get taken down a few times with Dober, but I mean, I'm only going on the latest that the latest fight that he's had with the style that matches his upcoming opponent. So if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And he was straight back up to his feet. He wasn't content in staying on his back, and when he got back up to his feet, he was pressuring, throwing punch of his own, landing as well. He also landed a few takedowns, and a couple of times, I know I always like to see what they're like in regards to holding opponents down, and he didn't hold Emmett down for that long, but I don't expect him to. He trains at Alpha Male. He's going to be rolling with the top guys day in, day out. So I didn't expect him to hold him down for too long, but he was getting more top control than what Emmett was. And again, that was impressive. And when I'm piecing this together, I'm just thinking, well, I don't see how Holtzman loses this fight. I don't see the flash knockout because I think he's taken harder shots from Emmett and just walked straight through them.
Yeah.
I don't see him getting taken down easily by Horcher. Emmett's a better wrestler, and if it wasn't for the fact that Emmett was that good at wrestling, he wouldn't have got him down because he was defending the entry well. It's just Emmett worked through the takedown and got him down that way. In regards to striking, I mean, if he's throwing weird combinations that he shouldn't be throwing, and I think Emmett's gonna not Emmett. I think Holtzman's gonna press him anyway. I think he's gonna be the aggressor in the fight, and Horcher strikes him as the type of guy that will fight better going forward himself, and only one man can go forward, and I think that'll be Holtzman. So I think he'll be a little out of his comfort zone and trying to strike, moving backwards, which just isn't his game. So just all in all, I'm really confident in Scott Holtzman, and it's a fight that I'm actually glad that the lines were so close because it made me question the line and watch tape because of it. So, I mean, what's your thoughts on the fight?
Yeah, like I do actually quite like Holtzman in general. I think he's a gamer. He's just someone who he works at an incredible pace. His striking is improving all the time. I know he struggled with the reach of McBride, but a novice striker will. But against someone about his own size, which I think these two are about.
Horcher's about 2 inches on him, I think, in height, but similar reach,
Yeah,
something like that.
so yeah, I think he's the better striker. He's a really good wrestler, and I actually like I because he trains at the MMA lab. I know for sure that he gives a lot of good fighters a very tough time, including Benson Henderson when Henderson was champion. So I know for sure that Holtzman, skill-wise, he's got it all going on. He's struggled to put it together completely in some of his fights, but I do think just in every department he's got a bit of an edge on Horcher, enough that I think he'll win the decision. I don't. And Horcher, like you said, he looked bad against Powell, and I bet him on that fight because Powell is just a very bad fighter. So I thought this should be a pretty much a walkover for someone like Horcher, but he couldn't get anything going against someone who's always been quite easy to hit, never really looked that good at defending takedowns, always been decent off his back, but like I was just like, wow, like Horcher, that bit of a freakish, decent enough performance against Habib is like literally, it feels like a one-off. It doesn't feel like actually a representative of his overall skills. I think in that moment he put on a better performance than most people would have expected. But
And I also think with the Habib fight as well, Habib was coming back from a long layoff, and Horcher literally had nothing to lose. He had absolutely nothing to
no,
lose from that fight whatsoever. It was short notice. It was against one of the
he was
best in the
brought in
world. It
for
was his
Tony
debut.
Ferguson, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it was,
So
yeah, 2 years out, exactly 2 years, about give or take 3 days.
yeah,
Habib was
so I mean,
off.
Horcher will have been 100% relaxed, knowing that he's got nothing to lose,
Yeah,
only
like
everything to gain. Even if he
everyone
got
ex-
absolutely smashed, which he did,
and that would have
it's
just
now on his
everyone
record.
expected him to get completely demolished, and he did. But like to his credit, he put up a good fight against. He fought against the tide well enough, but like put him in against someone where he's expected to do quite well, and I think he's just going to go back to that usual level. It's obviously possible he fought down to Powell's level a little bit, and he'll fight a little bit better in this fight. But Holtzman is he's not going to stop working. His work rate is incredible. I don't think Horcher can keep up with him. Like, even if they were about the same in skill level, I still think the work rate of Holtzman would get the job done. And they're not.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
Holtzman's a bit better everywhere. So yeah, I like your bet again.
Thank you. But yeah, I mean, the only way I can see all, because I mean, I do like to look at both sides. I have to evaluate both sides before betting. The only the only thing that I can imagine Holtzman doing is having an off night, Horcher actually getting some takedowns when I'm not expecting him to, because that's just MMA and sometimes unexpected things happen, and him just laying on his back and just getting outpointed. But everything that I've just mentioned there is nothing that can be seen in tape. You can't see Holtzman, really I know you mentioned the Drew Dober fight, but I mean, the difference. I think Drew Dober's a better fighter than Horcher,
And there's
in my
also
opinion.
that thing where, at least at that point, Drew Dober was mostly seen as a kickboxer. He wasn't seen as someone expected to take you down. But he really came into that fight against Holtzman looking for the takedown. So obviously that bit of
Yeah,
surprise again, like you said with the Cub Swanson Lobov. Obviously not quite as extreme as that, but there was obviously a bit of surprise that Dober was shooting for those takedowns. So, and there's not going to be that surprise here. Holtzman's going to know it's possible that he's going to shoot some takedowns, and I think he'll be ready for him.
and to be honest with you, against Josh Emmett, I don't think Holtzman was actually probably would have actually gone that heavy with his wrestling. It was the fact that Emmett initiated, the grind, and then he thought, okay, well, now I'm going to have to match it. And, sort of when you could sort of see he was trying to match Emmett for everything he was doing, but Emmett was just the better fighter.
And
so,
he did tire Emmett out in those scrambles, even though he was losing the scrambles, losing the wrestling, he was still making Emmett work harder, and Emmett really wanted to work. So even when he's losing, he is going to make you work hard for it.
And we saw what happened to Horcher when Powell finally started coming into the fight a little bit and making him work.
Yeah,
he didn't like it that much, did he? And
did he?
I just think the pressure and the grind of Holtzman.
Powell is
the
someone
line
who literally almost gives away takedowns. I think he actually likes being on his back. I think that's where he's most comfortable fighting off. So, like in Powell's fight just before that, I can't remember the guy's name now. He fought the other week. Who was it? Close. Draclar Close.
yeah.
And he was just getting taken down so easy in that fight, and I just thought he almost wants to be on his back. It's almost like when you go to take down Verdum, and he just basically goes, "All right, then I'm going to lay on my back."
Let's go.
So,
But I mean, this is where I don't understand the line for Holtzman. Like he's still not like moved to. He has moved a little bit from plus 100. I think he might be able to get him at minus 110. In fact, I think Coral have actually got an offline on him at the minute at plus 105. I think that actually is supposed to be flipped the other way. So, just a heads up for anybody listening to this, I maybe they might void the bet if it's an obvious mistake, which I think that probably.
Well, I'm not sure. You can get Holtzman at minus 115, so having it just slightly flipped that way doesn't seem like it's a massive mistake. It's just but the line is off. I think.
No, I think what they've done is flip the names. I think if you look at Coral, you look at both the lines and both the names. Also, Holtzman's supposed to be first, so it's supposed to be Holtzman's name, then Horcher's, and it is that everywhere else. But on Coral, it's Horcher, then Holtzman. I'm doing a bit of digging and looking out. I was thinking that I think they've got the names the wrong way around. But either way, the line's still off. I don't think I would have.
If you can get Holtzman at minus 115, you should probably take that. That's a good line for you. That's that's basically even. They're both minus 115. So yeah, the bookies seem to think this is a dead even fight, and I don't think it is at all.
No, I don't. I think Holtzman's going to win. You know what? I'll be kind to Horcher. I think he'll win a unanimous decision, maybe 29-28. I think Horcher might be able to steal around. I'm not sure where. In fact, no. I'm going with 30-27.
Work him all 3 rounds if Holtzman is winning. I don't see him giving up anything.
No, and I think Horcher might have a little bit of quitting him. Not quit as in waiting for his opponent to finish him, but quit as in like knowing he's not going his way. Cool. So we'll move on to the next one. So my last bet of the night, we've got in the lightweight division Chris Gruetzemacher against Davi Ramos. And it's actually a max bet from me. So I've got 5 units on Davi Ramos at minus 260 to win 1.9 units. I wanted the line a little bit lower. It actually opened up for the Americans at minus 180, which I know a few people snipe that. If you're listening to this and you snipe that at 180, I really don't like you, and that's going down on record because that's frustrating.
Jealousy is not a pretty sight.
It's not, but it is what it is. No, I'm only joking. I got him minus 260, he's minus 400 in places now, so I've hit that pretty much smack in the middle. I'm happy with that line. It was when I looked at the card, aside from the Swanson Ortega fight, which obviously that is going to be the first fight that stands out to you, with it being the main event and the two biggest names on the card. When I saw Davi Ramos match up against Gruetzemacher and I saw the names instantly, I'm always on the fake Gruetzemacher train where possible. I really don't think he's a good fighter. And, I'd go as far as saying he's possibly, in the one of the worst kind of bracket.
I don't know. We have been talking about Devin Powell and and
yeah. I'm not saying he's the worst or the worst five, but I really don't think he's that great. And Davi Ramos, I'm not saying he's lit up the world yet, but when you look at both the guys, I think you've got to favour Ramos. For a start, Ramos is a tank of a welterweight. He looked huge at welterweight, not in regards to like height, but how stocky he is. He was a big-ish welterweight that's now coming down to lightweight, so that's going to be interesting to see how he weighs in there as well. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if he missed weight.
You're very stocky.
But that's not. Yeah, it's not something that affects me though. Like, I'm not one of these people who fighters miss weight, so he's got a strong chance of losing, because I just think that's complete bullshit. But on the other side of the coin, so you've got Ramos, who's a big size welterweight coming down to lightweight. You've got Gruetzemacher, who's a featherweight coming up to lightweight. So the size difference in physique here is going to be absolutely ridiculous. Ramos is or could just end up bullying him and ragdolling him about. But what I like about Ramos is he's got this serious BJJ game, and he's fought he's grappled some really, really good jiu-jitsu guys, such as Victor Estima. I know he got tapped out there, but he's also rear naked choked Gilbert Burns, which
impressive.
Gilbert Burns, if my memory serves me well, is a second dan Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt.
Yeah, very high level.
So to actually choke him out on the mat, and I know there's a difference between Jiu-Jitsu and Jiu-Jitsu in MMA, but his BJJ game is very fucking high level. So do not sleep or be surprised that if Ramos just comes out here and gets it to the ground and submits Gruetzemacher straight away. Not sure it's going to go down like that, but yeah, his BJJ game's really good. His striking looks improved on every single fight that I've seen fight. It looks a bit better, a bit crisper. He's quite quick as well for his size, which is a little surprising in some ways. But the thing that I really like, and I know it can turn into a sweat fest if you've got a bet on it, but he can just outpoint fighters. Manage distance really well. Come in and out at the right times, just pick his shots, nothing powerful. Doesn't in the fights that he has won decisions, not even like throwing a lot of volume in the fights, but just throwing the right amount of shots to get the decision. Like, you look at the Piedmont fight that he had, and boring fight, horrible to watch.
I'm glad
neither threw. Yeah, lucky you. Neither fighter really threw that much, but Ramos threw just enough and landed just enough to convincingly, like, it was definitely his win. It wasn't even close, but it wasn't a clinic either. So he's got this point fighting ability as well. So I just think there's just so many avenues for Ramos to win here. He could go out there and manage his cardio, manage range, just pressure and point fight, move in and out. He could go in there looking for the big overhand shots, the one bombs that he sometimes throws, try and knock Gruetzemacher out. His power is probably going to be the strongest power that Gruetzemacher may have ever felt in regards to his previous opponents.
Well, he did get knocked out by Ayrton Lobov in the tough house, didn't he?
He did, but I think Ramos throws harder than.
No, that's what I mean. I think I don't think that's a very good thing.
I get what you
mean. Knocked out by Lobov.
And then, like I say, his last path to victory is closing distance, pressuring Gruetzemacher, grabbing him against the fence, ragdolling him to the floor, and then just working his magic on him and getting that submission. I think if it goes to the floor and Ramos has got more than a minute and a half to work, he's going to finish him. But I mean, I don't see where Gruetzemacher wins. I don't see him outpointing him. I don't see him knocking him out. If he submits him, that'll be one of the biggest shocks of the year, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how Gruetzemacher can win. Ultimately, I think that Ramos will point fight, and I think he'll get a 30-27. But I know, talking in DM with you about half an hour ago, I don't know whether you're under the influence of anything and you've come back around. But,
I definitely am.
Talk to me, man.
Well, it's actually one thing you mentioned that makes me like a little bit, because I know you've put like the 5 units on it, and it's like the one thing that I don't like is actually Ramos's work rate compared to Gruetzemacher's. Gruetzemacher does work hard when he fights. He pressures, he throws a lot of shots, and I feel like if Ramos is not on point with his counters and doesn't like scare him off enough, he could get outworked in this fight. Like, I don't think this is actually going to go to the ground at all. I think Gruetzemacher, he knows how to wrestle, and I don't think he's going to want to take him down. I don't think Ramos is going to hunt for those takedowns that much either. So I see it being a striking battle, and whenever there's a striking battle with someone who doesn't throw that much, it always worries me. This is why I don't bet on Jimmy Rivera, for example, because he's a really good fighter, but he waits too much, and that always worries me in any fight. Definitely against someone who throws a lot of strikes throughout the fight. Like Gruetzemacher is quite open and easy to counter. So if he can take his power, it would worry me too much to put that amount on Ramos. Like, I do favour Ramos, but I see that opportunity of him being slightly outworked.
See, I disagree. I mean, I get what you're saying about Ramos's work rate, and I think anybody who watches tape can see that his work rate isn't the best, but he will do enough to win. I mean, in his last fight against Sergio Moraes, it was a bit of a weird one.
Well, in that fight, he tried to do just about enough, but he
But
was
yeah, I
also
mean,
again in with someone who doesn't work that hard themselves. Like,
yeah, he was.
have you
But
seen him in with someone who really wants to work? Like,
I think Gruetzemacher works best though when he's like you mentioned it. You mentioned it yourself a minute ago. He works better when he's pressing. He isn't going to be the aggressor in this fight. There's no way Ramos is gonna be the one fighting on the
well, they
defensive.
might meet in the middle. If Ramos
I
doesn't
don't
want
think they
to,
will.
if Ramos
If
doesn't
if
want to
they
throw, he's got like he's got two choices to make. He either backs up or he counters. But
if they meet in the middle, Gruetzemacher's gonna get smacked, and he's gonna get smacked hard, or Ramos is gonna get up, just grab.
Does Ramos
I'm
actually
telling
hit that hard? Because he's only had one finish in his career. I know he's only had the 8 fights, but
well, just look at the size of the dude. There's no way that guy's got a light punch, and that's at welterweight. I'm telling you now, when these two step together in the octagon, it's going to be ridiculous. What Ramos, the size of Ramos is just going to look like he should be in a completely different weight class. And I'm telling you now, people that don't watch UFC as much and maybe don't know these guys, and they tune in for Fresno, they're going to look at that and think, wow, how are these matched up? That guy should definitely
open
be
weight again.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna look that bad, and I think Ramos must just look at him and think, oh, okay, I can grab that guy and throw him about a bit. But this is what I mean. If Gruetzemacher does press, they'll meet in the middle, like you're saying. If they meet in the middle, I'm still liking my chances. There's no way Ramos is going to back up to Gruetzemacher. If that happens, I'll be shocked.
Well,
Because I just don't.
will make
I
you
don't
back
see
up.
it.
If you counter a guy, he takes that counter and then hits you with 3 more. Like, where are you going to go? You're not just going to stand there and just take the punches.
No, you're not. And I think if Gruetzemacher starts throwing, if Gruetzemacher lands a few, he's going to, he might be the slightly quicker guy. And if he does end up landing a few shots and Ramos starts to get a bit frustrated.
Actually. I would say Ramos is probably quicker. I know
If he starts getting frustrated, watch Ramos. Watch Ramos take him down. That's exactly what he'll do. If he's not liking how that fight goes on the floor, he's going to grab the smaller guy, the guy that he can see in his own eyes that's a lot smaller than him. He's going to grab him, he's going to throw him to the floor, and then we're going to see him submit
And
him.
obviously,
So
Gruetzemacher coming forward does make him a bit easier to take down.
absolutely, for me, 5 units is a max bet, but I don't see this.
Yeah, I
I don't
agree
see this
with
path.
who's going to win, but I wouldn't want to put 5 units at what it is now. You can get him about minus 355, and I don't.
Yeah,
That's not something I'd want to push. Like, I wouldn't want to risk that much on a fight like this.
I'm not sure if I'd have bet him at that because for me that's parlay territory, and I try and steer away from. In fact, I was saying on Twitter the other day, I'm not against parlays. I'll never parlay anything more than 2 for a start, no matter what. I'm not against him, but I have to be confident in both those fighters in that parlay. I have to be as confident in both of them to win as I am in each one of them to win individually, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure whether I'd have parlayed Ramos because who do I parlay it with? I was maybe thinking of a guy that's later on in the card, but it didn't come to that. I got him minus 260, and I was happy. I was happy to play that at a max bet. So, I mean, yeah, I just don't see Gruetzemacher winning this on any scale.
Yeah, I do. I just see that path to victory, and when I see a path to victory, you know me, I can't even put 3 units on it. Never mind 5.
Yeah, because if you put 3 units on it at minus 350, you ain't getting your special unit back, are you? So
No.
I understand why you're passing. So yeah, I mean, ultimately, I'm going Ramos by unanimous decision, 30-27. I just see him just outpointing him like he does in most of his fights. So, well, not most of his fights, but in his recent fights. So yeah, and that's it for the breakdowns because I've only got the 3 bets. I know you haven't got anything on yet.
Nothing yet.
You're
No.
working through that. So yeah, we'll start on the quick fires, and I'll let you go first.
So, Marlon Moraes versus Aljamain Sterling. I do actually like this fight quite a lot, and I think Marlon Moraes is probably going to get the win here. I think his striking is a notch above Sterling's. I think he's gonna. I hope that we see him bring back his hard leg kicks again. I hope that's like something he actually focused on. I mean, if you look at Sterling, he does not look like someone who's going to be able to take many hard leg kicks. He's quite a gangly guy, and yeah, stand up. This Marlon Moraes all day, I'd say. Like Sterling's getting better with every fight with his stand up, but I don't think he's at that level yet. And on the ground, he could get Moraes down. He seems to get most people down. You don't really I think people underrate his takedown game and his top control game. I mean, he sat in Mendez's guard really well, and Mendez is really good off his back. So obviously there's some worry if he takes him down, but for me, as a quick fire glance, I think Moraes has got this fight in his hands. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I flip-flopped a little bit with this. I mean, when the fight first got announced, I was like, yeah, okay, I think Marlon Moraes should get this quite easy. And then the more I started thinking about it, I thought actually Aljo might have a good chance of beating Moraes, and both guys always fight really close. And then I was sort of slightly hoping that Aljo would get completely disrespected with the betting line and be around plus 200. But that wasn't the case. I could have got him at plus 150. So I watched tape on it because it was a late announcement, the fight, and I watched tape hoping to bet Aljo as the dog. But ultimately I just decided to pass. I just see too many question marks in this fight. Like you mentioned Aljo's takedowns. He's awesome. He took Barao down twice, who before that fight had 100% takedown defense, fended off at least 5 takedowns from TJ Dillashaw, who was a great wrestler over 2 fights. So 100% takedown defense came into the Aljo fight. He got took down twice. So, I always like a wrestler. I always like a guy that can get somebody down. And he's got decent top control as well. He's not someone that lets his opponent bounce straight back up. But what's put me off is I just think Moraes is good at scrambling. So I think if Sterling does shoot, I think Moraes might be expecting it. I mean, he should be expecting it because that's Aljo's path to victory. And you saw it against Dodson. I know Moraes got taken down against Dodson twice, I think it was, but he bounced straight back up, if I remember rightly,
Yeah, and it's like
both
Dodson's a
times.
guy you got to pursue as well, which always
Yeah,
gives that
and
takedown a bit of oomph.
I think Dodson shot more than that as well, and I can just seem to remember Moraes just reacting really quick to it and pulling his leg out before Dodson could even get anywhere close to him. So just the fact that can Aljo get Moraes down, I think he can, but does Moraes scramble well? Does he get back up to his feet? There's just questions that I haven't seen Moraes in that position yet, and until I've seen that, I can't really judge it. So for me, it's a pass, but I'll lean Aljo. So I'll be going Aljo by a split decision, because that's another thing as well that put me off the bet. You can bet your bottom dollar this is going to be a split decision. Like both fighters fight so close to the scorecards, and I just don't want that. I don't want that sweat of a split. So
well, yeah, both of them have had 2 split decisions in their UFC career now.
Yeah, and the thing is as well, from Aljo's point of view, I personally scored one of his splits with the Assunção fight to Assunção. I scored that to Assunção, but a lot of people disagree with that, which is fine. You know, it was a close fight. Moraes beat Assunção when he fought him. You know, some people disagree with that. Again, it's fine. It's a close fight. I disagreed with the Dodson decision. I thought Dodson beat Moraes. Again, some people disagree. But you know, you're sort of getting where I'm going with this.
Yeah,
they're that close. People aren't thinking, oh, that's a robbery or that's a robbery. Everyone seems to be split on the split. You know what I mean? So it's like it's hard to bet that. So yeah, pass from me.
It's gonna be a close fight by slightly edge. I do edge Moraes, not slightly. I think I quite comfortably edge him, but I can see it being close anyway. I'm confident that he'll win a close decision, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I get that. I also, just quick to mention as well, I also love the good cop, bad cop in Aljo's corner. Good cop being Ray Longo and bad cop being Serra. Them two together just work like a dream. And the thing as well to notice with Sterling is it on the ground, where you've got Serra, who was was a high level jiu-jitsu guy himself.
Yeah.
When Serra's giving Aljo advice, when Aljo's on the ground, Aljo listens, which is something you don't always see from fighters.
Yeah, you can tell Aljo trusts his corner, absolutely.
Yeah. And when you see a guy when you see a good wrestler listening to a great jiu-jitsu artist in his corner and doing exactly what he says, you know, that's another thing that stands out for me as well, but still ultimately a pass. Okay, so jump on to the next one. We've got Jason Knight and Gabriel Benitez. Big fan of Jason Knight, one of my favourite fighters in the UFC. He's an absolute dog. He's a grinder. He's got this weird, unorthodox striking style. He mixes it in with decent wrestling, crazy ground game. Like he's one of maybe like 3 fighters that I can think of off the top of my head that I'm comfortable betting with.
Yeah, he loves that rubber guard, doesn't he?
Yeah, if he gets taken down on the ground, especially with the new rules as well in the UFC, if they adopt them, perfect for a fighter like Jason Knight, because, like you say, he'll rubber guard, he'll throw elbows and strikes, he'll look for submissions. Absolutely. Another fighter that's like that is Tony Ferguson, really similar sort of style off his back. So love Jason Knight completely. Now, I wasn't sure whether I wanted to bet this because I think it's going to be a close fight. But I watched tape on it anyway. It's enjoyable tape to watch with these two guys. And to be honest with you, to my surprise, I actually lean Gabriel Benitez. I think his kicks are really crisp, are really strong to the legs, to the body. And once he's got his fighter focused to the legs and the body, he can throw to the head to throw him off balance a bit. You know, I just think Knight's going to come forward, not too much defense on his feet, and I just think Benitez could pick him apart. And if you watch Benitez against Clay Collard, I tweeted about this at the time, but it was a bit of a cryptic tweet. I never let too much away, and I basically said that in this fight I've watched tape which pretty much mirrored one of the fights within the tape of the fight mirrored exactly someone's style, and it was that fight. If you look at Clay Collard, his movement, his physique, his size, the way he fights, the way he mixes his striking into takedowns, his pressure game, his defense, his lack of striking defense. Not bothered about getting hit so much. Everything about Collard pretty much mirrors Knight, except Knight's just a better version of him. And when I watched Benitez and Collard, I thought this looks to me exactly what's going to happen in that fight, and Benitez obviously went on to win it. But yeah, without going too much into it, I think Benitez is going to pick him apart. I can't bet it though. I mean, the line
on it.
Yeah, I know it's like plus 260 that you can get on Benitez, but I can't bet against someone like Knight. Not because I like him. I don't really give a shit when it comes to that. When it comes to betting and fighters that I like and that I don't like, I don't really care. But it's the fact that Knight's always in the fight, and I just can't. I can't bet that. I can see path to victory for Knight, definitely. Ultimately, my pick's going to be Benitez, but I can't bet it. What about you?
Yeah, I do like the fight, and I also do see Benitez having a good chance, but just because Jason Knight is so open, and Benitez kicks are brutal, like definitely his body kicks, and that could really slow down Knight if he's walking into him. But also, like, Jason Knight has an underrated takedown game himself. I do think if he's not enjoying the stand up, which, knowing Jason Knight, he probably will be enjoying the stand up, even if he's getting the shit kicked out of him. He's a bit of a Hick Diaz, I think they call him. He's a bit of a
Yeah.
He loves it, but he could get those takedowns. I think Benitez got taken down a bunch of times in his last fight. I think it was his last fight, and yes,
It's Enrique Barzola, I think.
yeah, that's the one. And Benitez also does tire late in fights, which could get him into trouble against Knight, because Knight will put on a crazy pace. He's not going to let you rest. So, yeah, it's not one I'd want to bet on. I definitely wouldn't want to bet on Jason Knight at the odds he's at now. Like, I do slightly favour him, but I see enough path to victory for Benitez to think this should be a lot closer in the odds. So,
Absolutely. I mean, my advice to anybody listening to this is probably going to be fight of the night, in my opinion, and
could be, yeah.
unless we've got another shock,
Unless Davis
crazy fight.
surprises us all.
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean, they're both animals. We love watching them. But no, this is probably going to be fight of the night. Just sit back and enjoy it with a beer, without having to sweat it out.
Yeah, pretty much. And if you're the sort of bettor who likes to take a shot when you see the odds are a bit wrong, maybe put a bit on Benitez. But my pick is
Yeah, and
Jason Knight.
just to add to that, in my notes, I had Benitez at a plus 150 dog, so he's plus 260, so he's way off where I valued it at. So yeah, I agree with you. If you're the sort of person that just likes a cheeky tenner on an underdog or whatever, then yeah, Benitez isn't a bad spot.
Underdog.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're a DraftKings player, maybe throw him in that too, because he'll probably be quite cheap. So
yeah.
If you do that, that's probably a good shout as well.
Cool. We'll move on to the next one. So we've got Eryk Anders and Markus Perez. Shoot.
Oh, I didn't want to start on this one because I have not done tape on Markus Perez. But I did do a bit on Eryk Anders for his debut fight. And
yeah,
he looks pretty good everywhere. He hits hard. He's got good wrestling. And yeah, it's like, obviously, because I haven't seen the other guy, I've got no opinion on who's going to win the fight, but Eryk Anders does look like someone who could be hanging around in division for quite a while and maybe even start to push on that top 10. So it's obviously, I haven't got much, but
no, that's cool.
Eryk Anders, solid fighter, so I wouldn't want to bet against him, against a newcomer anyway.
Yeah, I didn't watch too much tape on it myself. I mean, just looking at records, Markus Perez is a 9-0 fighter as well, out of Brazil, 3 knockouts, 3 submissions, 3 decisions. So looks like a pretty all-round guy. But you look to 3 fights ago, he took Paulo Thiago to a decision over 5 rounds.
And that's
not 3.
Paulo Thiago is far gone from the fighter he was in about
Absolutely.
2009. That's the last time he was a good fighter. So.
Well, I like Eryk Anders. He looked great. He looked great regionally. I think he came from LFA. I could be wrong about that. I'm not sure. But yeah, he looked great regionally. He looked great in his debut as well. Got power, he's got wrestling. I do worry about his gas tank, but ultimately I think he'll just have too much here for Markus Perez, and I think he'll probably end up knocking him out. Not sure what round, but I would imagine early on because, like I say, his gas tank. There are slight question marks on that. So I'll go for a late round one knockout by Anders.
Yeah, I suppose I'll go for that too. Just why not?
Then next we've got Albert Moraes against Benito Lopez. So again, not watched too much tape on this one. I mean, obviously we all know about Albert Moraes. There's a few fights in the UFC now. So Benito Lopez came from Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series, where he won a split decision against Steven Peterson. So, it's going to be. I think it might actually be a crazy fight this with the styles. I think they'll both set a fast pace, but ultimately, I'm going to go with Albert Moraes, UFC experience. His losses in the UFC are to Thomas Almeida and Brett Johns, which are by absolutely no means bad losses whatsoever. And I think most people in the division would lose to both them guys. Beat Andre Soukhamthath as well, which is another fighter that's also on this card that I quite like. So, yeah, I think Moraes will win a decision. What about you?
Yeah, it's well, Moraes, he's very a wild fighter, and he's like he always throws
Yeah,
his weight off himself when he throws punches, which gave up a lot of takedowns against Brett Johns. The main reason I bet on Brett Johns for that fight, and like Lopez, he looks pretty good. Like, don't get me wrong, I did actually think and he's only 23 too, and yeah, I think a guy like Moraes, the path to victory is always quite clear. So like you're gonna chop down those legs, you're gonna get the takedowns when you can. You're gonna make sure you don't get into anything too wild with him, and you probably should get the win. So it's not an outright pick on Lopez, but I do slightly favour him.
cool. So Alexis Davis and Liz Carmouche.
Well, well at least I actually know these two. But yeah, Alexis Davis is a very awkward striker, and I think
I think you're being very kind to her by calling her awkward, by
yeah.
the way.
she she's been around for so long, and she's never really made any improvements to her striking. And Carmouche is probably one of the more crisper strikers in the division, at least outside of the top 5, top 10. But so yeah, I think she'll circle around and outpoint Davis. I don't think Davis has really got much of a takedown game. She's like well known for being quite good on the mat. She has had like I think she's won like jiu-jitsu competitions, and I think
Yeah,
she's got quite a good record in that. But her takedowns and just overall complete lack of athleticism has always massively let her down in fights. I think Carmouche is just gonna circle around and outpoint her. No knockout here, over 2.5, pretty much a given. I've said that before and it's gone badly wrong. I think Will Brooks,
yeah,
but
yeah.
but yeah, I definitely think this is going to distance, and I think Carmouche will just do about enough to pick up the win.
Yeah, yeah. I see it going a different way. I think Carmouche will wrestle rather than strike. I think she seems to have decent takedowns. I think she can take Davis down. She got taken down multiple times by Cindy Dandoir in the last fight, which was one of the worst fights that you will ever see in the UFC.
Yep.
I'm not even going to go into it. It's not worth my time. But um, yeah, I think Carmouche will win. I was actually going to bet it, and I was actually really high on Carmouche. But when I started doing my research and before tape, Alexis Davis has actually beaten Carmouche before, and I know Davis has
Actually,
had a
I had
yeah,
no idea.
she's had a baby, since then though, and she's come back. She's not looked the same fighter.
Let's be honest, she looked
Um,
pretty awful against another
yeah, she
awful
once
fighter
was.
against Dandui. So
And it was 4 years ago that she beat Carmouche. But yeah, that's sort of what put me off, because I thought Carmouche was quite a solid quite a solid wrestler pretty much all her life. And she didn't get tapped or anything by Davis on the mat. She got decisioned by her. So yeah, it put me off a little bit. I was going to bet Carmouche, but I saw that and I thought, actually no, it's, women's MMA fights
Carmouche
aren't.
has shown more improvement over the years than
Yeah, and that's why
Davis.
I think she's going to win. But just with the fact it being a women's MMA fight and Davis is okay-ish on the floor, and I think that's where it's going to be. There were just a lot of things, so I'll go with Carmouche by decision, but I don't think there's anything left else to say on that,
Nope.
really. Next one, fight I'm really looking forward to as well. We've got Luke Sanders. This is a short notice fight, by the way. Andre Soukhamthath stepping in. So we've got Luke Sanders against Andre Soukhamthath. With a full camp, I think Soukhamthath might have had a better chance of winning, but ultimately I would have still gone Sanders anyway. I think Sanders got a good pressure game. He's got a good left hand, got power in it as well. He's quick. I think they'll match quite well on the feet. But ultimately, I think Sanders will score takedowns, where Soukhamthath can be susceptible to be taken down, and Sanders will win a decision. What about you?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I actually quite like Luke Sanders. Like, I think he's quite a decent prospect. He was looking really good against Alcantara before he got knee barred. And that's pretty high level. He's already shown. I think he's shown that he can operate at a higher level than. How do you say his name?
Soukhamthath.
Soukhamthath. So yeah, I think he'll probably get the job done with the takedowns, with his surprisingly crisp boxing. So yeah, I'll go Sanders decision as well.
Cool. Next, we've got Carl's John Thomas against Alex Perez. Shoot.
I literally have no idea. Like I've not. I don't think I've seen either of these in my life. And obviously,
Well,
I was really scrambling for the fight study before this podcast, and I did not get around to this one. So, pass.
okay. So yeah, Alex Perez is 18-4. Again, product from Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. Won a first round submission with an anaconda choke against Kevin Gray. So ultimately, I think Perez is going to win, and he's also like quite a high price, like -400. The line's crazy, to be honest. But I could have got him at -250, and I was considering it. Well, considering starting the tape to watch it, because I haven't watched tape on this fight. I don't watch tape on every fight. There's some that I just don't see me seeing that much of an edge to spend time taping it. But what put me off is Carlos John D. Thomas is a wrestler. He looks for takedowns, and I just hate that. I hate betting on a fighter where he's fighting someone that looks for takedowns. So ultimately, my pick's Perez, but I'm not betting it just purely. And I don't think John D. Thomas is that good, and he did, even though he did get beat by Naoki in. I've shot myself in the foot saying this. Yeah, he lost his last fight against a good guy as well. But ultimately, I ain't betting against a wrestler. So moving straight on, we've got Frankie Saenz against Merab Dvalishvili. So we'll call him Merab moving forward.
Yep.
Again, I did actually watch a bit of tape on Merab, because I saw a few people on him. I thought, okay, I don't want to miss out on anything. So I watched a bit of tape. I know all about Frankie Saenz. He gets wobbled a lot, but he's okay with his striking. He does look for takedowns. He has got a decent top game as well when he can get there. Merab also does look like he has decent takedowns. He's got fucking brutal power as well by the looks as well. But yeah, I mean, I'll leave Merab. I think he might knock Saenz out. Saenz does get wobbled quite a bit, but again, same as I said the last fight, I can't bet it. I think Merab's shown that he's got decent wrestling, but the quality of the fighters he's been fighting, how good are they? Saenz is probably going to be the best fighter he's fought, especially in the wrestling department. If he can't stop takedowns, it'll be a long night for him. I think he'll lose the decision. Ultimately, I'm just going knockout just from Saenz's chin, and Merab looking quite explosive. So, have you got anything on it?
Well, I haven't seen Merab, but Frankie Saenz has always been quite a disappointment in UFC. He always came in with this highly touted wrestling game, but have we ever actually seen much of it? Like, he doesn't really. I remember watching him against Kakai back in about 2 years ago now, and thought he lost that fight, and he just couldn't get any takedowns. And then we've seen him since get like outstruck by Mendez and knocked out by Wineland. He looked pretty good against Faber, but that's because Faber gassed himself out trying to finish Sainz. So yeah, Sainz he doesn't really do anything particularly well. So if this guy is as good as the odds indicate, probably will take the win. I don't really have any trust in Sainz picking up a victory.
Cool. So moving on, we've got Alejandro Perez and Iuri Alcantara. So I'll let you jump on that one.
It should be quite a close fight, shouldn't it? It's Alcantara is obviously he's been around the block a bit, and he still seems to have it in him to pick up wins. Perez, is this actually women? I'm gonna make a tit of myself maybe here, because yeah, I'm thinking of the wrong Perez. All right.
Perez is the guy that just went to a split with Andre Soukhamthath.
Yeah, that. Yeah, he's good too, isn't he? He's my God. I literally had loads of things I was about to say, but it's all gone out of my head now. Uh, but yeah,
Well,
you go.
Well, I mean, I ultimately think Perez is going to win this, and I'm going against the grain here, and a lot of people disagree with me, and I'm not going to go too much into it. I'm just going to give my opinion straight off the bat. I think he did beat Andre Soukhamthath. I don't think it was a robbery at all. I think he did enough over two of those 3 rounds to take that decision. A lot of people are calling it a robbery. I don't understand that at all. If your opinion is that Andre Soukhamthath did actually get on the bad end of a wrong decision of a close fight, I can understand that opinion, but to call it a robbery, absolutely not. But no, I think the fact though that Perez actually had that sort of performance against Soukhamthath, even though Soukhamthath isn't the best fighter, he's still a very good fighter. I can't trust Iuri Alcantara. I bet him in his last fight against Brian Kelleher, and he got guillotined. When he was winning the fight on the feet, he went to take Kelleher down and got stuck in a guillotine and
Against the guy
tapped
known for a
almost
guillotine.
instantly. Yeah, he is, but
Well, I mean,
it was
it's
just
sort of
really,
a dumb
really
decision to
weird.
jump in his guard when you know how dangerous he is there.
Yeah, and I also bet Iuri Alcantara in the Luke Sanders fight as well, which I was very fucking lucky to win.
Yeah, I
To win.
bet Sanders in that, so.
So yeah, I can't trust Alcantara anymore. I bet him twice. Last 2 times out. One he lost when he shouldn't have done. The other he won when he shouldn't have done. So no, not for me. I think Perez. I'll lean Perez. I just think is a grinder. If he doesn't go to the floor, I think he'll beat Alcantara on the feet. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
remember.
Perez.
I remember Perez against Morales now. I'm thinking about it. It's basically why I bet Brett Johns to beat Morales, because he basically just took him down, and he won that fight. I know it was a draw in the end, but it was because of a point deduction. Without that point deduction, he obviously wins. He's decent everywhere. If Alcantara should be declining at this point, he's getting right up there in age, so it wouldn't surprise me if he's gonna fall off soon.
Yeah, and I mean the line on this as well. I'm just looking now. Perez is a plus 175 underdog, so it's not. I don't think it's a bad play to make. I mean, not for me. I've already um I've already bet up for the event, but yeah, I don't think it's a bad play at all. But
Mm.
yeah, I'm leaning Perez by decision.
Yeah, I'll go along with that. Sounds good.
Cool. Then moving on to the last fight that we'll talk about, we've got Antonio Braga Neto against Trevin Giles.
Is that me or you?
Yeah, you can go.
Yeah, I actually did have a good look at this fight. Giles looks pretty good. He's very composed, standing. Like, he doesn't do anything stupid. He picks his punches, and I don't think he's got much of a wrestling like background, but his takedowns look really good, and his top control looked good, and I've actually got it in my notes, really hard fucking ground and pound. So
Yeah.
so, and Nito, I know he's like well known. Well, his reputation is of a BJJ guy, but I don't think he'll get this fight on the floor, even if he wants to, and his striking's very sloppy. His stamina doesn't look very good at all. So yeah, I think Giles can just pick his shots, let Nito get tired, and pick up probably a decision, possibly even a late stoppage if he can land some good shots.
Yeah. I mean, I feel exactly the same. And it was going to be a bet. I had it in my notes at -150 for Giles, and he's like +225. Well, I could have got him at +225. I think he's risen since then to like +250. Sorry, -250.
Yeah.
And I just think it's a bit too high for me to take the shot on him now.
Yeah,
But
it is a bit.
and the only reason I say that is because, like you said, I thought he would have had some wrestling credentials with how he looked, and I don't think he has. I couldn't find any if he does have. So that does make me wary, because if it came in that he was a D1 wrestler or wrestled at college or something like that, and that was documented to me, then I probably would have thought, okay, well, I think his top control would definitely be enough to suffocate Neto's jiu-jitsu, but I couldn't find it. I do worry about that if he does end up getting
a really quick
reckless.
learner, though. I mean, guys
Maybe,
like
yeah.
GSP and Rory McDonald never had a wrestling background, and they've quickly become someone you really don't want to have on top of you. So.
But then the other thing as well is Giles is going to be undersized in regards to height here, and the one fight that I compare that to is the Ryan Spann fight. If you watch that, Spann is another good jiu-jitsu guy, and Spann when he did get hold of him, he did look like the stronger guy, and I worry that it could possibly be the same thing with Neto. Maybe not. Don't worry me as much as what it would be with Spann, because Spann is bigger, but. I don't know. There's just a few things. Ultimately, from my quickfire, I think Giles is going to win. Just a side note from this, it's also the first fight of the night, which always scares the shit out of me because of my personal first fight of the night curse. So that's not the reason I haven't betted, though. It's just purely from a line point of view. If I were going to bet him now at -250, I'd have to be throwing 3 or 4 units on it, which I've already got 12.5 for the night. So
yeah,
I'm not about to start getting reckless. But this is also, I spoke about earlier. If Ramos was, if I couldn't have got David Ramos at -260, I said I would have parlayed him with somebody. This would have been it. But although I'm super confident in Ramos, I'm not as confident in Ramos as I am with Giles, so therefore I couldn't make that parlay. So I'm glad that I did get the -260 on Ramos, and I wasn't put in a position where I really had to consider that. So yeah, I mean, I'll be passing, but if you're betting Trevin Giles, then good luck to you, and I think he'll win, and I think he'll knock him out as well, ground and pound.
Yeah,
and that wraps it up for the night. So as always, please give us a like, subscribe as well. Anything, we still, I know I say it every week, but we're still reasonably new, so anything really helps at this point. Just a side note for me, you can find all my bets on my website, newsomemma.co.uk/bet-picks, where I give a little breakdown on each bet that I've made. Follow us on Twitter. Check our betmma.tips records out as well, which is all in our about section on the YouTube channel. So yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you next week.